Okay, let's talk about something I've seen mentioned quite a lot in recent years, which is the topic of exclusives being anti-consumer. I personally don't think it's that easy to define as a thing, because there's various situations where exclusivity makes sense, actually quite a lot. And there's also, you have to look at things also through the lens of one, whether it makes sense to have something as exclusive. For there may be different reasons for that. So I'm not one of those people who says just because a game is exclusive to something, well, it's anti-consumer. My general stance is that if a game is made by a third party, so a software house, let's say Capcom, let's say back in the 16-bit era, you had the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo, and then you had Nintendo signing contracts of exclusivity with the third-party software houses like Capcom, Konami, I think as well, quite a few others, and they were making Nintendo was making sign these contracts to these software houses to prevent them from releasing games on the Mega Drive Genesis. And yeah, that is anti-consumer, when you have someone preventing like another company from releasing their games on another system. That's what I will call anti-consumer. I don't think it's anti-consumer if someone, let's say Sony or Nintendo, makes a console and then makes software themselves that is exclusive to the console. I don't think it's anti. I mean, it's not anti-consumer, because honestly, before buying a console or a PC or whatever, that they are gonna make their games only on their systems. So it's like getting upset at the sun rising in the morning. I mean, you can be upset, but I wanna play it on PC. I mean, in the end, the game wouldn't exist without them putting money on its development. That's how it is. If they think it's worth porting it, they will. Otherwise, if you really wanna play it, just wait for. If you really wanna play it and they never end up porting it, just recover a system when it's very cheap and play the few games you want, and that's it. I don't think it's that big of a deal, honestly, because I mean, video games are a luxury in the end. So, and especially if a company is trying to like expand their market share, of course they're gonna keep their games exclusives to their hardware. Because, I mean, despite what people say, nowadays PC gaming is more popular than ever. Steam has millions of people on it. I don't remember when was last time I checked the users, but I think there are at least probably more, 120 millions users, active users on Steam. It's probably even more, but I don't remember the exact number. Pretty sure it's more. So I mean, you understand that it's okay to keep some. I think it's okay to keep something exclusive. I mean, in most cases nowadays, it's only temporary. So you only have to wait maybe 1 year or 2 years at worst to get a port from a Sony game, let's say. Because nowadays games do cost a lot to make, and so to recoup the costs, they have to port them to multiple systems. That's how it is. Look at what Xbox is doing. I mean, Xbox is because they don't sell consoles. That's their main problem. But yeah, Sony is porting their games to PC as well. Some of their games. Xbox is doing PC day one. Even software houses like Rockstar use PC as a way to get more revenue, because every time they release their games, they release them on console first and then 1 year later on PC to get people to double dip and make even more money. But to be honest, this is a strategy that not everybody can pull off. You can pull it off only if your games are desired by people. People are interested in them. So the only one who really doesn't need to do this strategy, to follow this strategy, is Nintendo, because their hardware sells a lot and their games sell quite a bit too. And I think the Nintendo games are cheaper to produce compared to a game like, I don't know, let's say Last of Us 2, for example. So yeah, that's how it works. Nintendo doesn't need to do it, for the most part. And so I was saying, like I said, nowadays you'll most likely get a port on PC after a while. So it's not really... 98% of games come out on PC today. So you really, as a PC user, you really can't complain today. Back in the day it was different, because a PC port wasn't really always a guarantee. For example, there are a lot of games back in the PS2, Xbox, GameCube generation who never got a port on PC, I think. A few did, but a lot of others didn't, because back in the day, PC gaming was popular, but not as much as today, I think. Plus, it was really expensive. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, you bought a top of the line PC, and then the year later it was already starting to get obsolete. I remember, because I remember buying a PC, a pretty good PC in 99, at the start of 99, and then by 2002 you could barely play games already. Like, I remember I tried playing Mafia on my 99 PC, and I could only run Mafia at like 10 FPS, I think. And that was barely 3 years later, so it's not like it's 10 years later. But nowadays you can absolutely play a game released, a PC that's 3 years old is gonna be able to play games from 3 years in the future. So yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. And also, I mean, games also cost less, used to cost less back in the day, so there was less incentive to port them. There was actually more incentive to port them to other consoles rather than PC, probably, especially PS2. And so yeah, I mean, it depends also on the economics of the period, the historical period, the economics of that period, the strategy, people spending habits. There's a lot of factors to take into account to see if something makes sense or not to keep exclusive. But I think exclusives also can be good to give developers focus, to give them extra funding, to give them actually more exposure, because in some cases a game could be overshadowed if it was kept multi-platform. Meanwhile, making it exclusive, maybe even for a tiny bit, for a temporary exclusive, can give it a little bit of spotlight put on it, so it can actually increase its performance in terms of sales, as long as it comes out on a console that has a healthy install base. Yeah, that of course should be always the case. And then maybe you port it a few months later, on 1 year later. So I mean, there are a few situations in which exclusives make sense. Of course, nowadays they don't really make much sense anymore because, like I said, the games cost too much to make. People are not inclined, as they were back in the day, to buy other consoles, unless it's a Nintendo console, because PS5 and Xbox are pretty much 95-98% the same games catalog. So it doesn't really make sense to buy both, in my opinion, unless you have money to waste. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think exclusives are anti-consumer. If it's made by the first party, if it's a first party exclusive, I can understand them keeping the game exclusive for a few years to push hardware. Or even, I mean, it depends. It depends. They can keep it exclusive indefinitely. It's whatever. If they think it's gonna do some good, yeah. But I don't think in the long run it's always more convenient to port games. If you don't want to port them immediately, yeah, wait a few years, but eventually it's convenient to port them nowadays because you can recoup some of the costs with the massive install base that Steam has. It's probably the best strategy to just wait a few years and then port the game to PC while you've sold all the hardware you could get. So I don't think nowadays people can really complain about anti-consumer this, anti-consumer that. You get 99% of games on PC. Consoles, it's a different story. But of course, I mean, it wouldn't make sense to have so many consoles if everything was available on everything. Also because technical limitations, because if a game is too taxing for a system, it's probably not gonna be able to run very good on that system. And also, yeah, another reason why exclusivity can be good, it can also be because if a game is developed on the best system first, and then maybe later down the line ported to lesser systems, it can also give you the chance to have the best version, because developers will put the focus on the best hardware first and then port it down the line on lesser hardware. Think of Resident Evil 4, for example. That game was so impressive at the time, also because it was developed exclusively for GameCube. It wouldn't have been as impressive if it came out on PS2 as well at the same time. But no, it was ported later down the line on PS2. That was the big difference. So, like I said, it can be beneficial in some cases, because it can give you a really big jump in terms of graphical fidelity and game design, game possibilities, compared to if it was developed for everything at the same time. So, in conclusion, exclusives can be good. Timed exclusives, as long as they are done by a first-party manufacturer. If they're bought exclusives, like someone giving someone else money not to release their games on other systems, yeah, that's anti-consumer. Fuck yeah. Fuck, of course it's anti-consumer. And I think it's also dumb. But yeah, this is my these are my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts instead when it comes to exclusives. Do you think they're a good thing or a bad thing? Have you ever bought a piece of hardware because of an exclusive? I mean, I did. I bought, like I said, I think before, a GameCube for Resident Evil mostly. But yeah. Let me know, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye bye!